Hey, welcome. This is The Process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is my video lesson that accompanies my snaps report for week 3 Add Fake Pigskin. Don't you love the little orangey pig there? And so my article is going to have mainly the actual figures so you can, if you got any questions, you could stare down the figures. And then, of course, the video lesson you can listen to multiple times. Again, snaps is important. It's a foundation of my waiver wire and acquisitions and lineups and these kind of things to basically survey opportunities in teams and team positions, and then finally at the player level. So if you've listened to any of my work before, I do go the landscape and I go top down. So I like teams, positions within teams, and then players to kind of get down to it. I believe you need that scale of information to get a view, an outside view of what we need to do. If you start the other way, you get kind of biased on players, and that kind of sticks in your head. If you go my way, you kind of get a feeling, oh, here's the teams, and okay, now within the team, what's going on, and then finally you get to the players, and I think that's better for long-term thinking and dealing in fantasy informatics here that we're trying to teach you about and go over here. So let's roll here for week 3. This is my team level, and I have 3 columns of data, and I've colorized the team names and sorted those by average of player snaps for the 3 weeks. So Detroit, Vegas, Arizona, Dallas, Denver, Minnesota have the highest levels or amounts of player snaps. So there's a lot of activity going on there. The opposite end are in red, and these are teams that players have had on average fewer snaps. Again, that's all players. Okay. There's obviously going to be a pecking order within positions, and we'll get to that. So right away, in some ways, looking at the information, you can kind of see what kind of activity each teams are having. Usually activity kind of goes with scoring points, not all the time. And so it's in the third column. So first column is average player snaps. Third column is average game points scored so far in the 3 games. And I colorize from high to low. And you could see that a lot of the higher scoring teams are in the top groups here. Probably not surprising. There are some exceptions, and what's interesting is not to ignore the exceptions, actually to use the exceptions and ask, what are these teams doing that most teams in their category are not doing? What's going on? What's special? What processes are those teams doing that gives you interaction? I summed up the grand average in the green teams here, and that's 26 points scored, and the rest of the league is 22. So there is a 4-point difference here with player snap averages here. So right away, just going and focusing on those teams, for the most part, you're going to be 4 points ahead of players on average than the teams with the lower snaps. So you're kind of putting yourself in a little bit better position there. And do note the exceptions. Tampa Bay, there they are. It's probably not surprising that they would be an exception. Baltimore is an exception. Cleveland, San Francisco, and Kansas City, for the most part, and Seattle, those are pretty good teams. But if you see all around them, there tends to be the lower scoring teams. Now, notice Detroit, lots of player snaps, but they're not turning it around and putting it on the scoreboard, at least in the last 3 weeks. So that's something to monitor here. Denver is kind of below. Indianapolis and Pittsburgh, New England, the Chargers, and actually, I guess the Chargers there. So asking yourself, what's going on? Are they not efficient? Because they surrounded by some of the higher scoring teams in the league. So, it kind of spots some of the teams that have issues. And if that starts to change throughout the season, this kind of metrics will catch that. And, you playing on teams that are scoring more is always good for fantasy football. So we'll just kind of keep track of that. And then the middle column is average of top. Top is time of possession. And the blue are the teams that have the highest level of time of offense. And probably not surprising, the teams that are doing lots of snaps are using a lot of time on their offense. And so there is kind of that interaction with time of offense and points scored kind of situation. So there seems to be some continued suggestion of that, as well as snaps. Now we have time of possession as well, as a way that helps us kind of foresee game points. So those are the teams that have dominated time of offense and player snaps, and they tend to score more than teams that don't do that. So you're saying, well, how does that affect some of my decisions? Well, it usually means that the depth on, say, wide receivers or running backs or tight ends is probably not going to pay you as much as the depth in the teams that are generating a lot of offensive time and player snaps on average. So you might do better digging for depth and acquiring players on the cheap, especially if they seem to wake up from the higher snapping teams, the higher offensive time teams, than those that are not that way. So it's just kind of a heuristical rule of thumb that can guide you for some waiver wire acquisitions. Here I'll just give you a visual. I like visual. It hits home scale to me. So if you look at the scale of New Orleans versus Detroit, look at the extremes here. Okay, Green Bay is kind of been doing good, but that first game is, so you expect probably they'll go up, but, we'll see. Kansas City, things are not 100% at Kansas City, and we're kind of catching some of that. So you get to feel that these teams are leaving points on the board, and these teams are not as much, except with the ones like Detroit are really so skewed out there that maybe that is a result of not scoring as many points. So they're having to really push working their players, and I don't know for injuries or things. I'm curious throughout a season, is there a higher level of injuries when players are playing longer and more? That may be something. The average is in pink here, so you can kind of see the above and below average teams here. Yeah, so I guess off season I do need to, if I remember to do this. If not, I don't know, that's a freebie. Go enjoy some research. That's, hoping that you'll become a fantasy football scholar, and that's part of my wish, spreading that good fantasy football karma here. Okay. So I or get a little bit more into depth of average of time of possession versus points scored. If you take a look at the top group here from about 1939 up, and this is in seconds, to 21, look at where the scoring is. Oh my goodness. So once again, we're finding ourselves higher scoring teams are controlling more of the offense. Obviously, there's exceptions. The Rams and Tampa Bay, Kansas City, San Francisco. But you got 4 exceptions, but look at the rules. Oh my goodness. So once again, pay deeper attention to these teams up here as far as depth in their pecking order, as far as players to acquire, that kind of thing, versus players that are in some of these teams. So they may be underperforming right now. So we'll see if, teams changing their stripes a little bit throughout the season. We're just 3 weeks in, so we got plenty of time to make some changes, and just curious myself to watch and see how that goes. But you now can keep track of this metric here. It's out there, and just note that, kind of give players in those teams a little extra bump in trades and lineups and things, not to the point where you completely skew everything to the one metric. With something like fantasy football with a high level of uncertainty, rarely, because of the nature of uncertainty, will one variable category, one data, direct you to everything. In other words, one stream of data is probably not going to be the sole answer. In fact, there's probably going to be multiple data streams needed for you to interpret. I mean, that's the more complex a system, by the definition, the more data streams you're going to have to use to try to understand it and make a model of it. And by the definition of uncertainty, we'll probably never have it 100% model, regardless of people that are extreme in algorithms and AI and things. I mean, there are limitations to, trying to predict the future is basically what we're talking about here. So this seems a little busy. I like busy, but maybe you don't. Here's average points scored. I love this pink purple color here. And I did a polynomial trend line. So we see that from the time of possession, I sorted from high, and notice it drops to low. So the highest is Denver, the lowest is Seattle here. And we see that movement, and underneath it, underneath time of possession, points scored are kind of ebbing and flowing. And look, we're kind of bottoming out in this area, and then we're kind of perking up. So it's kind of a dead zone. If you look at the top 16 scorers teams, look at the cluster here, 3 here and 3 there. But I'm getting the message that I'm wanting to be over here versus certainly not in this or this range. So there's probably some deeper understanding here, especially these exceptions, and I've highlighted with the blue star these teams. What are they able to do to get around what seems to be the rule of thumb? In other words, they're scoring points even though they're not a dominating time of offense. So in Seattle is really doing well. So if you figure who's had the toughest 3 weeks as far as this metric, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and the Rams have had it the toughest of the 3 weeks. Okay, so I think that's kind of interesting. So you figure if they shift and start getting maybe a better dominance of the offense, are these your big time, Super Bowl contending teams here that have right now not seeming as that, but maybe if this stat changes, maybe they'll kind of start even scoring more points and being better. And again, San Francisco, Kansas City, and New Orleans are also been, not as tough as this, but not as easy as these guys. If you think of time of possession as kind of easy, average, and tough, then you can kind of start putting the exceptions and the rule together and make some thoughts kind of just on the last 3 weeks. And we can compare, say, in 3 more weeks, maybe I'll get back to this, or I'll certainly be keeping track. So time of possession, and then we skew more towards how's that affecting teams running versus passing in their decisions here. And so if we look at the ratio of percentage running versus passing, right, of the attempts, having a number high means a lot more rushing. Having a number low means a lot more passing. And if you colorize these metrics, you can see here are the more higher passing teams. Here are the higher rushing teams. So that can give you some information. Is there any interaction with rushing or passing and time of possession? Okay, we'll see what that looks like here in just a second. There may be some interactions if you kind of look at this. It may not be as apparent, but it might be. So if you're curious about, where the teams are passing a lot, Tampa Bay is really the most extreme passer. And then, let's see, 34, that would be Cleveland was the extreme runner. So now we've located the extremes. So you think how important Hunt and Chubb are. So you can imagine if one of them has a week or two injury, the third man up might really have an opportunity here in that team versus, again, the wide receivers here in the pecking order, and any kind of injury or disruption might, the depth of the wide receiver crew, you might be able to pick that up and take advantage of any kind of situation like that. So if we do that, just look at the teams. I just wanted to emphasize the rushers versus their passers, and I colorized, and so I kind of have the rushers, the passers in the light blue, and kind of near average or balanced over here, which is interesting. So more extreme the rushers, extreme the passers, and some of the teams that are balanced. So teams are finding their journey here. Not sure it's going to work for teams that are not producing. So it's up to them to change that. If I was on those teams and looking at metrics, I would certainly be well aware of what my team was doing and maybe considering experimenting and changing up the rushing passing ratios there. So again, if we look at, and now I sorted the teams by time of possession, and now we look at rushing. I hope you see that there is a very interesting trend line here coming up. Look at that. So it turns out that dominating offense, time of possession, is probably linked to rushing. What about passing? Probably not as linked. And I've got a lesson or two in my classroom, 100 lessons, that I found the same thing. In fact, I looked years worth of data, and that held up, and not surprising that that is continuing. So now you can use time of possession to give you an insight into scoring and now rushing of a team. So the time of possession can give you nice insights into, for your trades, for daily fantasy plays, etc. here. So this is, to me, very valuable. And I look on Twitter. Ain't nobody said this stuff. Okay. And that's fine. The analytics and pundits, they're not listening to me because they got to produce their own stuff for clickbait and stuff. I understand, and that's fine. So that means who listens to hardcore? Congratulations, you earned the goodies here. And by the way, if you're just joining me, then consider this a process that's going to take some time. And I think if you listen to my lessons, I think you're going to get much better. And, I wouldn't tell my league mates anything, take home the trophy. So here is the actual data plotted. This is time of possession. Denver's the high, Seattle's the low. We've talked about that. Here's the polynomial for passing, the trend line. And for the most part, it starts going up, and actually you start getting higher passing kind of when teams are not as dominant on offense. And in some ways, it's, you're getting nice passing even though you're not dominating time of offense. Here's these teams in that area. But rushing, the highest rushers, here they are, and notice the fall. The trend is very correlated to time of offense here. Look at that. This is going down. This is going down. So I think for the most part, we get an insight that most people are not going to get using time of offense and whatnot. So I think that's great. So use this. Think about how you would use this deeper. I use it for depth of pecking order, especially in running backs here, and scavenging those third handcuff to the handcuff concepts. That's what I'm using this information to start digging around here. Okay, so now we leave time of possession, scoring, rushing, passing, getting into the snaps. And I'm going to go to the positional level on each team. So each little block of data is 4 teams. And I have the positions, running back, tight end, and wide receivers. The next column is average player snaps per second. So to me, people try to, do some scoring by snaps, but I'm actually using the team's actual playing time and taking the players' snaps by seconds. And I get an average of all the wide receivers, tight ends, running backs here. And so we're talking speed of the positions is another way. And you can also say that's correlates to usage, and that's the last category here, percent usage. So as you roll through, see what teams are doing what. So for instance, Arizona, and I colorize purple is high and yellow is low. Arizona, even though there was some blip with Max Williams there, they are still not using their tight end greatly, folks. I know people were looking for that tight end too or streamers, but just, you're going to have to play into that data here. In Arizona, the wide receivers are dominating. 40-something% of snaps per second usage is wide receivers. So they're probably, strongly being used. The running backs, not too bad, not too great, not too bad, 33%. Atlanta is using its tight ends, so maybe Pitts is going to break out. I don't know. You can play them, but if you can't help them score, and it may be a quarterback or a system. Notice the wide receivers, 31%. Folks, that's poor. That is bad. That is so much bad news for Calvin Ridley. That makes me sad because I actually did not envision this kind of usage coming out of Atlanta. So looks like they're relying on their running backs more than their wide receivers there, folks. Not so good. Not so good. Baltimore, they love their tight ends, and they balance them out with their running backs. But this year, this is so surprising. Almost 40% of the show is the wide receivers. So you got to pay attention. Anytime something's 40%, you got to pay attention to depth here. So I'm definitely looking at the wide receiver 3 types in those type of leagues. In Atlanta, probably not looking so deep until that stat changes. Buffalo, everybody's talking about Knox, and I know he may have a good matchup week 4, but the last 2 weeks, 25% has not been stellar in usage, so maybe that's going to change. Running backs, 32, 33. It's okay, but it's not spectacular. Buffalo's probably not surprising. It's passing at 41%. So you definitely want depth there. So we're talking Beasley, Sanders, on the bottom of Diggs there. So you want to go deep. Here's the actual graphs showing the team patterns. Okay, and we can see, some of the issues. Here's the tight end. Here's the tight end. So notice, to me, Buffalo and Arizona look a lot alike, whereas Atlanta looks completely different. And Baltimore looks skewed to the passing only. Take a look at that. So I believe there's probably some deeper understanding. I just hadn't had time to get into that. But, I could see even trying to figure out a way to give a number to this pattern here, and then correlate having this kind of pattern. Maybe percent difference between the positions or some type of metric like that, and then trying to get deeper, because we see Arizona looks like Buffalo, but what does that mean? And if I knew, I'd tell you, but I don't. Carolina, Chicago, Cincinnati, Cleveland. Let's see what's going on here. Carolina is still doing some good passing. Their running backs with CMC's okay, but it's not so skewed. Chicago's having issues. Tight end issues, 23%. Ooh, that's bad. Running back, concerned on Montgomery, folks. Be very cautious. Look, and so that has, because of the failure here, and maybe even the game scripts, almost 50% has been to the wide receivers in Chicago. Not saying that's helping, but I think they're using a lot of the wide receivers, and maybe poor Allen Robinson may not be getting his due here because they're going so deep into the hat to pull out wide receivers. That's kind of almost a negative. It's almost a skew that's way too high. It's just completely out of balance. Cincinnati is interesting. Their tight end is a nice usage, so just keep that in mind. And the wide receivers at 37, that it's a little low, folks. And the running back at 26 is very low. The only thing worse than that is the running backs at Cleveland. Even though they've done well, Cleveland's been really, look at that, using its tight ends. Hooper and Njoku are good targets for your streamer tight ends. So you heard it here first. I've seen this coming before and picked up Hooper as my tight end 2-3 type for a streamer. Wide receivers at Cleveland's about 40%. It's okay with some injuries and everything. I'm thinking this is going to do better, but 20%, come on. And Carolina, kind of like a Buffalo, Arizona. Chicago looks way out of whack here. Cincinnati looks kind of level, and that's a weird pattern. And Cleveland looks a lot. So to me, Cincinnati and Cleveland look a lot alike. You see that? To me, it does. Dallas, Denver, Detroit, Green Bay. Dallas is underutilizing Zeke. The tight end 31, it's not, it's not great, but it's not terrible. The passing 43%, it's fine. Looks like you want depth there. Denver looks like the tight end is pretty strong there, Fant. So I do like to see that. Their running backs are okay. It's a little low, and their wide receivers are a little low at 37. Kind of like we saw with Cleveland and Cincinnati, this same kind of pattern there. Detroit is all Hawkinson. Look at this. So they're dominating the time of offense, but the scoring is all wacky because they're not having a good passing game, and that's putting all the pressure here. Running backs are fine, right? Swift really did well. 31% is good. The tight end is great. So I can't complain there. It's just they're going to have to work. Detroit is out of balance. Notice running backs is the Green Bay, and the wide receivers are low as well. 37 is a little low. Okay, it's not like Detroit low, but it's low. Okay, I would like to see this closer to 40%. So it's very balanced here with the running back and the tight end. Shh. Okay, let's continue. Here's the journey look. Dallas is a little wacky here. It's kind of, almost a diagonal here. And Denver kind of has that. Detroit is really skewed funky here. Look at that. Uh, so there, like I said, there's probably some secrets here to these patterns. Just I'm not sure I know it. Houston, Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Kansas City, Houston. Let's not use our running backs, shall we? Let's put it all on the tight ends and the wide receivers, especially Cooks, and that's what's going on. So this is really unfortunate. I thought with Lindsey there, we would see some more activity and this would be skewed. I thought it'd be skewed away from the tight ends, but that's not the case at all. So that's kind of interesting. Indianapolis, the tight ends are, I think Jack Doyle's underused here. Passing's fine, 40% to me is a nice number. Running backs probably could be better, could be worse. Jacksonville is underutilizing its wide receivers. Even they have a whole bunch and they're not putting their eggs towards that. So they're going to have to change. And here's the running backs are doing pretty good. 32% is not bad. The tight end, I think they just traded for a tight end, so he might, is it Dan Arnold? Got some play. Keep your eyes on that. Kansas City, let's not use our running backs. Let's not use Kelsey. Let's throw it up at 45. They're almost out of balance, folks. Kansas City wasn't this out of balance last year. So I think Kansas City is going to have to change its journey here. This, to me, looks out of balance. Here's Houston. We're all about this. Let's forget the running back. Indianapolis, running back's fine, tight end. Nice wide receiver. Jacksonville's two almost equal. This needs to go up some. And the running back, the tight end needs to drop some, folks, and put it over to these categories. And Kansas City, look at this. This is almost very out of whack skewed. Chargers, Rams, Raiders, Dolphins, right? Chargers, let's not use Eckler, shall we? Okay, 21%. It's not good. Jared Cook's getting his due. It's all about Williams and Allen. There it is. It again, Chargers doing pretty good, but they could do better with their running back, so they got work to do. The Rams, they're using their running back. 26% still low, and their tight end is doing well, but the wide Cup, come on, 37. This should be higher, right? This should be a little lower. This should be a little higher. That's what I think it takes, and the Rams need to do some adjustment. The Raiders, it's all Waller show, kind of like Detroit, and Detroit has been having trouble with that kind of journey. So the Raiders, if they're winning games, and I forgot their score, I want to think they're doing okay. They're doing okay in spite. This is a weird pattern here compared to many of the others in the league. Detroit's been the only one I've seen kind of like this. Miami is approaching all passing all the time. I do like, I think the tight end could go up. Gesicki, they're underutilizing him. So if you have Gesicki, I think he did good last week. Might be a good time to sell. If Miami's going to stay at that level, he's going to come back to earth. Like I said, the Raiders, this kind of pattern here looks funky. Uh, Using tight ends and wide receivers kind of equal, and then here's a little bit skewed to the wide receiver. I think they need to get some more time to the running backs here. Uh, they could do better with the tight end in Miami. Minnesota, New England, New Orleans, the Giants. Just right away, what hits me is the running backs for these four teams. New Orleans is the only one that's using their running backs well. Minnesota's not using Cook, but they are blasting out the Thielen and Jefferson. So I guess if they're winning, they're okay. I think they need to make a correction there. New England, definitely underutilizing the running backs and probably overemphasizing the tight ends. And so some of this needs to go over here, and probably need to get New England may even need to get higher than that. So they need some change here. Uh, New Orleans looks kind of balanced, and I guess that's working for them. I would have liked to seen Kamara used higher than 30% given his importance to that team. And the running backs, the wide receivers, I'm underwhelmed here. 36 is not strong. Tight end, Ingram's back, and the reason I hope that Ingram does well is this number right here. Notice this looks like Detroit, looks like the Raiders, this spike of tight end. Let's not use Barkley, shall we? Sure. Not good. This doesn't look like a winning pattern here at all. Okay. Uh, the Giants need to use Barkley more. New Orleans is probably doing what they can. I would just like to see for PPR purposes. Callaway hasn't been producing. Thomas is not on the field. It hasn't been good. New England has been splitting points with Henry and Sanu, which maybe they want to. But somebody's losing, the running backs in this game. So I'm not sure that's sustainable. I guess Minnesota's fine coming in like this. I would just like to see Dalvin Cook used a little more and the tight end used a little less. Jets, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Seattle. The Jets, that's really interesting how this would line up. That these would almost be the same. You would think the running backs would have been done more, but they haven't, and it's been passing 41%. Don't think it's going to change. Philadelphia is a little balanced here, and not sure that's worked in their favor. I think they need to get more to the wide receivers. 37's a little low. They've been doing their tight ends fine and the running backs fine, but I would like to see the wide receivers closer to 40. Pittsburgh has been underutilizing its tight end. I think they got some good ones there with that new kid. Harris got all the show last time, and that may be enough for Philly to stay in the game, especially the shorter passes kind of thing. So we'll see how that goes. But I think people are saying that Roethlisberger's arm is not strong like it used to be. So people are calling out and having concerns. Seattle is underutilizing Chris Carson. So if you got Carson, as well as some of the others we pointed out, Barkley's another example, It's been underutilized. You ever wonder, well, why it's not making more? Well, because the team's not using them. In fact, look at the skew. It's almost like the Raiders, Detroit, using the tight ends. So I would have thought this would have been 42 and 39, maybe even less than that. Seattle worries me long term. It seems a little out of balance, and uh, I've got Carson on some leagues. I mean, I'm not getting rid of him, but I'm not looking to get too deep into the running. If Carson breaks down, I don't know what's going to happen. The wide receivers, I think, are fine. Everett should be getting some more attention. Certainly snaps, he is. Disley as well. And Seattle looks kind of a little skewed like the Raiders and Detroit almost, and that worries me. Pittsburgh might actually be okay. Now I look at this kind of U shape. I don't dislike that. Philly's a little bit too balanced. I think this needs to be skewed upwards a little bit. The wide receivers, they're underplayed. And I think the Jets need to put more eggs in their wide receiver basket as well. San Francisco, Tampa Bay, Tennessee, Washington. San Francisco is way too balanced here. And slight Detroit and Raiders. They're trying to force it to Kittle, but they're not using their wide receivers enough. They should be in the 40s. And they're using their running backs. So they're running more, no doubt. I just don't know how successful this is going to be for them long term. Tampa Bay is underutilizing their running backs. Jones is an issue. Fournette. They got Bernard. I don't know what's going on. Have little confidence in any of that crew. Gronk is keeping this alive, and the wide receiver. So I don't think this is bad for the team. It's just for me, since I did get Jones, and he's not been well. Here's Tennessee is a lot like Detroit in that kind of spike with the tight end. That usually means issues, and I don't know if if he didn't have Henry, I'm not sure. Maybe that's going to work for him with Henry, but that means everything goes through Henry. If he gets wore out or hurt or something, Tennessee's living on borrowed time, I believe, with this pattern here. Washington is probably definitely not throwing to its wide receivers enough. Running back's fine. It's just this needs to go closer to 40. They need to bring in the other wide receivers as well. And they're just throwing to McLaurin. This is okay. This pattern in Washington, Tennessee worries me. Tampa Bay's fine. Maybe this is the pattern that you want to see. I need to go back and look at the data. Maybe this is the optimal. And this looks a lot. I don't think this is a winning pattern either. We'll see. Now this inspires me to do more research. Okay, so if we skew this now position at a time, look at the running backs. I showed you in green the top running back usage. Washington, Arizona, Buffalo, Atlanta, and Jacksonville. So James Robinson's doing well. Mike Davis is used. Singletary and Moss, unfortunately, it's a committee there. Edmonds has been doing okay, but Connor got his due, so there's kind of a committee. Gibson is really talented and was from the #1 using team. So when they get an easy shot with their running backs, I believe Gibson and McKissick is going to get you points as well. Concerns for the running backs are in the red teams. Look at Carson down there. I drafted him, but boy, I don't want to see his usage down there. New England, look at Harris at 16. That's poor. Houston, poor. Cleveland, Hunt and Chubb, and you're going to only run 20% usage. Folks, they're leaving points on the table for the running backs. Eckler, it's not being used. Barkley, Zeller, not good. So if you're wondering why your teams are struggling, if you invested over here, look what's going on. Okay. Here's the scale. Look at New England here. I graphed it versus Washington. Wow. That is very dramatic here. Probably the average is around here. So maybe even 29. It's hard to tell the median here, I guess. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 is the median. So 30 and above. So 30 is right here. So there's the median. These teams above that mark are above the league half, and then these are. But look at the scale from this 30 to it's only 4%. Look at this from 29 to what? 16 is 13%. So it really, the rug really is pulled out here on usage. It is not slight at any means. That means the dynamics of your running backs from these teams are really skewed versus you could survive having running backs on these teams. But boy, you're struggling here. Tight ends. New England, they went out and got tight ends, but for fantasy, they split it. Seattle's doing well. It's just they hadn't been scored enough. Ingram, boy, I think I've invested everywhere I could get Ingram. I really, with that number, I'm really hoping good times are ahead, and he's a trade for me for your second tight end. Cleveland should be doing well. Hooper, Njoku, I think there's your streamer guys. Houston, the Raiders, of course, Waller. And then here's Hawkinson right there. Almost made it. Chicago, Kemet, too bad. Knox, everybody's saying, well, I'm saying he's at the bottom. Arizona, Max Williams, I understand he got some targets but overall hasn't been good. Pittsburgh, not good. Jack Doyle's being underused. The Jets are using. Carolina's not doing it. Logan Thomas, look right here. That's not good. Andrews, those are some struggling tight ends that people thought would be doing better, and look how the team is using them. So I'm hoping things do better for some of those. Maybe it's the time to trade for Logan and Andrews. Wide receiver, Chicago. Look at the usage. It's all in their basket at 48. Like I said, that almost seems so out of balance because nothing else is going. They're just throwing those wide receivers out there. KC is a little high. Chargers, Minnesota, Dallas. Raiders, Detroit, Atlanta, not good at all. Tennessee, not good. San Francisco, Washington, Jacksonville, New Orleans. Look at this. Green Bay. But the scale, if you look at the medians, probably around 39. It's not as dramatic here. And if you see in your pre-draft, my discussion, you see the same kind of pattern that wide receivers are closer together as players in groups than in running backs, where you really get the good and then you really get the bad. You don't get a lot of the middle. It's just not there. So if you're wondering why some of your teams are struggling, take a look at the usage here. See if you need to change that. See if you anticipate, usage changes throughout the season. Again, buying low, selling high maybe is the way to go. Here's player snaps. This is my last deal. I'm going to kind of be jaunty through this. This is a metric I like to see. It's called diff. Here's the total. And I sorted each category by total snaps so you can see who's at the top and who's not. Looking at the pecking order. Difference to me is something I really like to see. So what I do is I look at the last game and compared it to the preceding 2 or 3 in the average. So I take an average of 1 and 2 and compare it to week 3 and get a metric. So positive and negative here. So Connor went down a little bit. This is not points. Williams is getting some snaps, but really not going up any. Harris has dropped. Nothing really happening in Arizona. Things are almost the same. It's like they're static. It's like they're on a plan, and this is what we're going to do each week. It's almost, it's scary when the numbers are almost the same week per week. So Rondale Moore, everybody's talking, but look at this, 20, 28. Nothing says they're moving up over Kurt as far as snaps. Atlanta, Davis went down. Okay, Hurst went down. Pitts staying about the same. Gage got hurt, so he's minus 43. Zacharias, I guess, went up because Gage was down. Patterson got 26, so I understand people think he's a weapon, but you would think he would get more. Baltimore, Tyson Williams went down 7. Murray kind of low, okay, low again. I don't know what they're doing with him. Andrews dropped 10. That's never good. Watkins, Brown. So it looks like Baltimore's wanting a 1A, B, and C type. And notice minus 17, 12, and 5. So not so good. Not so good. Nothing here that really jumps out at me. Moss really jumps out. It may be too late to grab him, but if you can, go in. It's going to be a committee, but, we're all fighting for running backs here. Knox did go up 11. We'll give you that. And maybe this is a good matchup week. Okay? Just be aware overall. His usage has been going up, so maybe that's good. Sanders out-snapped Diggs. Tied him. So Sanders is significant, and you can probably pick him up in some leagues. Beasley's in there too. It's 1A, B, and C, folks. You might be able to pick up Sanders and Beasley cheaper. Hurts Diggs. Of course, McCaffrey got hurt, so Hubbard came up, so everybody's going for him. Dan Arnold, I think, did they trade him? I don't know. But Thomas, I guess if Arnold's out, then they hadn't been using Thomas. I don't know. Moore, Anderson, Marshall. Marshall's almost getting above Anderson here in snaps. I'm concerned about Anderson here. Marshall may be a long-term pickup, probably and certainly in Dynasty. Montgomery dropped. Damian Williams has been just 30 to 7. That's not good. I don't know what's going on. It's like Montgomery and forget these guys. Commit has been dropping. Not good. Mooney outsnapped Robinson. And then here's Damiere Byrd. What the hell for Robinson? Look at these numbers. Things are not good with Fields, folks. It's going to be a long season. I think you should have got, and me too, I should have got rid of Robinson after the first week. Mixon's dropping. That's never good. The tight end's dropping. Chase outsnapped Boyd. Looks like Alden Tate is the number 3 now with Higgins out. Maybe too late to get Chase. Boyd could snag you, but these are not good numbers here. Have long-term, I don't think Cincinnati's going to do it. Chubb went up, Hunt went up, so they both went up. So they were both used more. Look at the snaps for the tight ends, folks. I'm telling you, I just wish that Njoku wasn't there and Hooper would get more snaps. People Jones, Higgins, Beckham's back, so I guess People Jones is the next one if Landry's out. I don't know when Landry's coming back. I would try to grab him if I could. Elliott's gone down a little, nothing. Pollard's gone up a little bit. Schultz outsnapped Jarwin. Of course, he got 2 touchdowns, so that's good. Lamb and Cooper. Wilson's replacing Gallup, and then Noah Brown slipped in, so it seems that Dallas doesn't have confidence in Wilson, or because they brought Brown in. Gordon dropped a little bit. Javonte Williams, folks, this is not good. If you draft him to be the number 1, he is not the number 1 yet. Fant going up 6, that's good. Patrick is probably out there. Sutton's probably taken. Hamler's gone for the year. Spencer, he's probably going to go up a little until Judy gets back. Swift and Jamal are equal. So look, week 1, the difference. But Swift really did some good snaps and good scoring, but still went down. Hawkinson, not too bad. Raymond, number 1. Cephas, number 2. Looks like those are your top 2, folks. It's like the whole Hee-Haw gang here, not good. Jones, okay. Tanyan finally woke up, so that's good. Hoping good things are for him coming. Lazard and MVS tied for second. Who's the second? Who knows? Adams show, it looks like. Cobb really hasn't made that move up. A little bit high, but I guess he's going to have to play into shape if he's going to be a factor. The running backs, let's just not use anybody, shall we? Look at this. Not good. Akins and Pharaoh Brown. Cooks, Conley, and Miller. So maybe there's some play with Conley or Miller especially. So Miller should outsnap Conley very soon. Okay, let's see. I guess that's it. Yeah, I kind of am interested in Miller a little bit, but nothing dramatic here. Taylor was outsnapped by Hines. I do not sure I understand what's going on there. That is concerning. Doyle and Allie Cox kind of came together. Concerns there. I really liked when he was getting many more snaps. Pittman, Pascal, Paris is back. Looks like 1A, B, and C. I guess Pittman's the most consistent play, but he's probably not out. Pascal might be out there. Campbell might, but that's a deep play. Deep play. Nothing dramatic here for me. Robinson staying about 40. That's okay. Hyde's about 23. Nothing dramatic. Hollister got some play. Didn't Jacksonville get somebody else? I don't know. We'll see after week 4. Marvin Jones. Looks like he's, doing well. I mean, he's been consistent of all of them. And Sharks, not bad. And Chenault's the number 3 guy. And I guess that's kind of how we drew it up. Nothing that I see that we should get that we probably already didn't draft. Solaire actually woke up 49, so that was nice. And Darrell Williams got 27. I guess Kelsey 69. That's good to see. Nice number there. Bell is probably the second choice. He's the handcuff to Kelsey. Maybe worth a add on a deep bench. Think I might. Hardman, DeMarcus almost got as many snaps as Hill. He got plus 18. And they threw Pringle in the mix as well. So they're really doing a lot of passing, folks. I don't know which one of these would be the handcuff to Hill if something were to happen for a week or so. I don't know. I think people be struggling for both. I guess depending on the last week, right? So something happened this week, I guess it would be Robinson. If something had happened that week, it would have been Hartman. Don't know. Probably worth an add in at the bench only. Eckler, I would hope more snaps than he's getting. Look at all those other ones underneath him. 11, 7, and 9. Do they need 4 going? I don't know why they're doing that. I don't. Cook, Parham, seem like they're wanting to run. Is Cook the red zone? Is that why they're Parham's the blocker? Is that what's going on? Allen, Williams, and Guyton. I have picked up Guyton. He's the injury wide receiver handcuff to Williams or Allen. It's clear to me. And you can probably get him for nothing. So just be aware that that would be, hopefully that's why you're listening. That would definitely be a target. Michelle at 48. I guess he's the guy now. Jake Funk is in there as well. Guess he's the handcuff to the handcuff. Higbee, gone down a little, but I guess he's still in the running for a streamer type. Woods outsnapped Jefferson and Cup, but it looks like it's A, B, and C, and that's never good snap-wise. I guess Jefferson might be the handcuff. Might be worth a grab as well. Yep, in a deep league. I don't know if Jackson, they use him a little. It's like I guess they're afraid of injuries. Old man's brittle. Barber at 47 over Drake. What the? That's probably the biggest surprise. People are going to run out. I don't know when Jacobs comes back, where does Barber and Drake sit? Don't overpay for Barber right now. Put enough bid in to make sure, that people pay for him. But Waller and Moreau's getting more snaps than I would have thought. Look, it's half, and then more than half. So that's a little surprising. Edwards, he's the 1. Ruggs is the 2. Renfro's the 3. I guess Renfro's the injury wide receiver handcuff. He might be worth a play in a deep bench. Gaskin, look at Brown coming in all of a sudden. It's like Ahmed, is he on the out? Is he injured? What's going on here? This was a complete surprise. I guess he's the handcuff now. Folks, I do not know. That is a confusing situation. I guess if I had Gaskin, I guess I'd take Brown. Maybe he's worth a deep ad. Gesicki, I'm glad they're finally using him the most. He got a little bit of action, so I'm hoping to see more. Just don't know. They sure got a lot of tight ends, though. Waddle, out-snapped Parker and Fuller. 1 A, B, and C there. Does Fuller get better and pass Parker? I guess Fuller's the pickup. Hard to say. Madison, the clear. And I don't know who the handcuff to the handcuff is. Conklin, clearly the number 1 tight end. Nothing really excites me there. Thielen, Jefferson, Osborne has been there as number 3. All I can say, you pick him up as somebody to play in a streaming situation, or if Thielen or Jefferson has is injured for a week or so. So don't throw him away necessarily. With White out for a long time, if not the season, Bolden out-snapped everybody. That is not good if you drafted Harris. I do not know. I guess you go chase Bolden now. I guess he's the one. Wow. You talk about confusing. If I had a deep bench, I think I'd grab Bolden. Do like that Henry's out snapping Smith. I have some Henry. I did not take Smith this year, but I do have some Henry, so I'm going to monitor that. Myers, Aguilar, Bourne. Bourne really stepped it up. So he might be the injury guy to cover Aguilar and Myers. If Myers is out there, he needs to be picked up. Kamara, and I do not know who his handcuff is, folks. If Kamara has an off week or is down for a week or two, people will not know who to grab. If it's Jones or Montgomery, I think it'll be both. Not sure it's worth grabbing either one right now. Troutman's there. Juwan got some play, but now he was number 3 tight end. Callaway at 38 snaps, Harris 19, Hogan. Kenny Stills, folks. Is he going to be the number 2? I thought we were done with him and he's back. I don't remember much about him, so maybe Stills is worth an ad in a deep bench. Barkley and I guess Booker's still the number 2. He didn't play. I don't know. Ingram got 39. I'm hoping that he will assume dominance and pick it up. Tony got 46, so he really woke up. Slayton got injured. Shepard got injured. So when Shepard or Slayton comes back, where does that put Tony? Is it just a complete 4-way flip? I don't know. That's a confusing. I guess Tony's worth an ad, but I'll hope that Shepard comes back. Ty Johnson and Carter, you thought Carter was on his way up, and then he takes a down. He's number 2. Ryan Griffin is 1. Croft was down. I don't know if I take any. Davis, Berrios, number 2. Moore, Cole. I guess Berrios is worth a speculative ad. Sanders, 35. Goodness. But Gainwell has not made any headway against him. Goddard and Ertz, almost the same. It's 1A, 1B. So if you took Goddard early, you're not happy about this at all. Smith, Rager, and Watkins, 1, 2, 3. I think that's pretty much how it's been. No changes there. Harris really jumped up, folks. He may be the new pass catcher. Ebron is going to be there over Firma. So, I don't know. I think I'm staying away. Claypool, Washington, number 2 with Schuster and Dante out. Look at Schuster, 33. What is going on? Then Ray McLeod. Add Washington. Add Washington. Take him everywhere you can. Folks, you talk about bad news for Carson. Look at this. Not good. I guess Homer's the handcuff. I don't know. I'm not happy. Everett, maybe he's a streamer. Metcalf, Lockett, and Freddie Swain. Don't forget Swain. He may not be catching touchdowns. He's the clear injury person, so he's worth an ad in a deep bench. Sherman is number 1 now, all of a sudden. Who knows when Mitchell comes back, how all that's going to go. Kittle is doing what Kittle does. That's good. Samuel, Ayuk, and Sanu. Sanu really stepped it up. I guess he's the number 3. Worth the injury pickup on a deep bench, yeah. Bernard outsnapped Fournette. I have no clue. I guess he's the pickup. Yeah, you've got, I guess it's time to get rid of Jones. Invest in Bernard. Gronk, Brait. think Gronk got hurt a little bit. Brate stepped it up. He's probably the injury handcuff to Gronk. Might be worth an ad in a deep bench or a tight end premium league. Godwin, Evans, 1 and 2. Brown's out, so Johnson and Miller, we don't know who the number 3 is now. Henry is Henry. McNichols is the handcuff. Grab him all day. Not sure I want any tight end action. This is the one everybody woke up to. Everybody is so into snaps. Brown is hurt. This guy stepped in. Julio, Batson. Let me look at this. Yes, he's worth an ad. Nick Westbrook. Eichenheim. I don't know how to say that. Eichenheim? I don't know. Yep, pick him up. He's the grab. I know they had a tough week. Look at the snaps. They were really down. I like to see higher snaps. Logan, fine. McLaurin, I guess Dimey Brown is worth an injury pickup only. I do have some Humphreys just in case. Not sure. So take a look. Use these numbers. Look at the article. See what's what. I think I have. Yeah. So I did the extremes for us. Well, just for your reference only, you can look at the article of the top differences, who's up, who's down, kind of thing. For the tight ends as well, who's up, who's down. And here's definitely Washington, this guy, Fuller, Miller. Those are my top 3 ads. You can look at some of the down too. Okay, I hope you enjoyed my hour and 20 minutes. But I appreciate it if you didn't make it this far. The article you can shortcut. You don't have to. You don't have to listen. But I did try to point out some things worth looking for. Please come back. Thank you for listening. Hopefully I help you crush your league. This is Dr. Bush for the process, signing off. Take care. Oh, I have 2 more articles coming out this week. Oh, yeah.